Well, it is officially, according to my clock, 6:03, and I believe I'm ready as I'm going to be.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind, Janet, doing the honors. Okay. We'll call the meeting to order. And I will add the little, I'm sorry?
I put in the Board of Assessors instead of the Housing Authority. I'll change that on the website.
Okay.
I must have copied and pasted the thing from the wrong spot.
Sure. That's what you get for wearing so many hats, Janet.
Yeah, too many hats.
Humble public servant. This town owes you.
No.
We as citizens appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I'm going to paraphrase, but and I understand the governor's continued this order, at least for now, that public meetings like this can continue to be remote, virtual, due to the pandemic. So this is considered a legitimate public forum.
I don't know when he's extending it to, though. I mean, until the 15th, but has he extended it beyond then?
I believe he has. I think it's still September, but I can't confirm that. But I believe
I know he talked about it, but I didn't know if he did it or not.
I will casually Google it right now and see if there's anything.
Okay, thank you. We know it's legitimate as of June 7, 2021. But the likelihood is extended, I think, till September.
Okay.
We'll see. I think, people are looking, well, I won't comment, but I think, it has an opportunity to include more people. So maybe it'll continue beyond some hybrid version. But anyway, so we appreciate the governor's order that allows this meeting to take place. And I'm not seeing any guests as I look about. So we'll call the meeting to order. Do we get minutes out?
Yeah, they went out.
They went out early, which was nice. See, it's so nice, and I appreciate it, Janet, that it's seems like ancient history. But they did go out. Is there any comments or input or changes?
Or should I share them and let people refresh their memories or not? It's up to you.
Well, I remember reading them and thinking they were fine.
Yeah, I just looked again, and I was like, oh, I already looked at these, and yes, they look good. So motion to approve.
Second. Okay. All in favor? All in favor by name, please.
Simmons, aye.
Kane, aye.
Sini, aye. Well, it's just so productive.
I do have one more set that I could share with you that I did 15 minutes ago. Can I do this real quick?
Sure.
From last week.
Yeah, I just put a really brief thing in. I know I didn't send them out in advance because I'm sitting here with 10 minutes to spare, so I just figured I would draft something.
If I had called them up, I could have read the governor's order right there. Sounds so official, but our viewers can look at it and read for themselves.
Yes. So, I mean, there was a lot of conversation, but it's recorded, so that's the good news, right? So.
And yeah, so when these minutes are posted, are there corresponding documents that go with it, such as the presentation slide or anything like that, or is that just?
Well, I will put Shelley's presentation up.
Nice.
Great.
Okay.
All right. Well, then I move to approve these ones as well.
Okay, and it would be in the recorded session too, because she was in it. I'll second.
Okay, by name, a voice vote, please.
Simmons, aye.
Kane, aye.
Sini, aye.
Okay. So, Jim, did you send Tammy Walunas the presentation by any chance?
I thought I did, but I'm questioning myself, so I'm writing myself a note.
I know you sent it to me. I can double check if it was sent to.
Yeah, we got it, but I wasn't sure if it would be on the same.
I'm not sure if I sent it to Tammy, but I wrote myself a note, and it'll be first thing done after this meeting if it hasn't been done already. I'll start with my sent box and confirm.
Yeah, that's what I
can do that while we're chatting. And I had the order of the agenda off. I'm sorry. Now is open time for the public. Looking again, not seeing anyone. And also not seeing. No. So I will send, I have her email, so I will send it to her after this meeting. My bad.
I hadn't seen it on the community page, but I could have missed it. So that's the only reason I.
No, I appreciate that. No, it needs to be done because she was.
So regarding the digital meetings, I just found some info. It says Governor Baker did fire a bill to extend it to September 1st. It doesn't say anywhere whether that bill like needs to be approved by anyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it did say he filed it. So,
Okay.
May 25th. Anyway, that's what I got so far. Sounds like it'll probably happen.
Mm-hmm.
As an option.
That's right. That's right. Okay. I hope so. I'd like to see some version of it continue into infinity.
Me too.
I think we should honestly be responsible for showing up if we can, but the ability for the public to tune in rather than having to come to a meeting, it's going to increase participation. And
Oh yeah, it's just so much more likely.
yeah. So, okay.
Is this an example of that?
Yes. Yeah, it's an example. Open time to the public. Hello. That's all right. Moving along. So discussion of the inclusionary bylaw. I'm so, continuously encouraged, Sierra, by your enthusiasm and willingness to jump in there and do some research. So
Of course.
We're all ears as to what you've learned and can educate us.
All right, let me look back here. So it looks like where did I leave this? Let me find my notes. 1 second. That's modified. Well, basically, I learned, sorry, give me 1 more second. Okay, so zoning bylaws have the special provision where you don't need to wait for the town meeting for them to take effect. They take effect as soon as, or no, they don't have to wait for I know what it is. It's the Attorney General that takes a while. So once you have the town meeting, they do take effect, but you don't have to wait until you sent the bill to the AG and he's, looked it over and given his approval, which can take months.
So
That would be a period of questioning in between.
That's a she, Sarah.
It is a she, but yes.
Is it Maura Healy at this point?
Maura Haley, that's correct.
They them.
Yes. So it says as long as the town clerk subsequently files or fulfills all publishing requirements. And if you look in our list of zoning laws, it said that the publishing was done by December 2014 for that law. So there is this time that maybe could be contested between when it was voted on at town meeting and when it was published. But what it says is it takes effect at town meeting provided that it is subsequently published. It doesn't say once it has subsequently been published. It just says as long as you take care of the publishing after the fact, it's officially taking effect that May or June or whatever it was at town meeting.
So it takes effect at the vote of town meeting, or is it retroactive back to when it was published in December?
It was published after the town meeting.
After the town meeting. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
it
you
takes
have to wait for it to be published. Do we have a date when it was published?
Yeah, it says December 1st, 2014, publication.
When it was published. Okay.
And when was the town meeting for it? Was it the previous?
Let's see, I'm looking at it.
Or was it October timeframe? Yeah. 24.
Oh, it was May 20th,
Okay.
2014.
2014. Okay. So it doesn't go back to May.
It does go back to
May.
It does go back, but not. I thought it had to. Wait, I'm confused then.
Yeah, I am too.
Sorry, Jim. So if it has to be published before it goes into effect.
It doesn't have to be published before it goes into effect. It just has to be published in order for it to go into effect. So if you voted in May at the town meeting and it went into effect, but then didn't publish it in December, all would be lost. But the
I
fact
see.
that it was finally published in December means it was in effect as of May.
I see. So I keep saying like retroactive, but essentially the publishing it makes it legitimate.
It makes it legitimate, but it's not the date that is legitimate. It just legitimizes it having happened in May.
Yes.
And this is all in this special section of General Law 40A Section 5, which says, you know, zoning laws are special, and they have this special provision where
Can you get the MGL again? I'm sorry. You got to slow down for me.
It's Chapter 40A, Section 5.
Chapter 40A. Okay.
Thank you for getting that clarification, Janet. Yeah, we'll put it in the minutes.
But what I thought might be confusing is I think that whoever drew up these zoning bylaws list wasn't aware of this special zoning circumstance, because the section where it says the date, it says publication and effect. It didn't actually take effect until December. But what I'm saying is that that's wrong, and it did actually take effect in May. But if someone were just looking at the law and saw that list, they'd be like, oh, that took effect in December, because that's what it says.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to dig a little deeper, what you're saying, into the chapter to pull that detail,
Yeah.
which you did. And thank you for that, because I really appreciate that clarification, because it's just good for us to know those kind of details if we're ever asked about, you know, when does it officially start?
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to a day in May of 2014.
Yeah, and I have this text that I wrote up in the email. I can send it in the chat now if you want it for the minutes. That sort of describes what the
Sure.
law is.
If you can, copy and paste it into the chat, that's great.
Okay, do that.
And so, so again, it has to be published, but the town controls that, and the Attorney General reviews it to essentially rubber stamp it. But when the Attorney General does that, doesn't affect any kind of effective date or.
Right. But for other town bylaws that aren't zoning related, it is the case that they have to wait till the AG accepts it.
So it's in the chat. Lovely. That's really good work, Sarah. Thank you.
Thanks. I try.
Yeah, well, I think you succeed. It's my opinion. You succeed.
Thanks. Looks good.
Yeah.
Now I have it in my future draft minutes.
Nice. Do you have any additional feedback or comments in your digging in the inclusionary and in 40A, it sounds like, but that you want to, present to us here today?
Yeah. So I just want to know, this situation where we have, a possible developer who might have tried to get around this law by, making 9 developments and then another one. And they're saying that this thing was built before this bylaw took effect, I'm guessing. So I would like to know the exact date of, I would like to know some more details of the development of that housing complex.
Okay.
And that would be through probably the planning board.
Yeah.
Do we know, what was the location of it again? I think I have it somewhere.
I don't. I'm sorry, I don't have the details, but I mean.
Oh, it's Crooked
As far
Ledge
as I
Road.
know, it's speculation or whether this really happened or what's being pursued. I mean, I feel from a housing authority perspective, it's really helpful to know what the limits are and what the rules are and what the effective date is. So if any situation, not any particular situation that might be rumored or whatever comes up, we'll be armed with information. But certainly to Jan's point, I think any questions we have about what's being proposed can go to the planning board. But I'm not aware. Maybe it's a good idea to, our minutes are published, but I can always include the planning board when minutes are published so they're aware.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think this is good work. I don't want it to, it should be out there for the public to consume. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't have the details that you're looking for.
That's all good.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Good. Any other thoughts or, I mean, again, thank you. Janet, do you have any thoughts or?
No,
on this
I
topic?
just, I just keep going back to the comments that were made by the Planning Commission that always said that the PVPC, that the bylaw isn't very strong. And so I mentioned, I think when we were on with them for the LTA grant, I need to better understand what they mean by that. And how do we improve it?
Right.
Because all I keep hearing is that it's not strong, but nobody gives us, or the planning board or whomever, the direction to improve it. So.
Right. What does that mean? It's not very strong. Is it not very strong because the number is not low enough and so it doesn't spur growth, or is there a weakness in the writing of the inclusionary bylaw that allows a workaround? What does that mean? It's not very strong. It's a great question.
Yep. So.
I'm wondering as we go forward, and maybe it's a nice segue into our next agenda item, which is the Mass Housing Partnership presentation to the Select Board. We develop an HPP, if that's part of the discussion with Ken Comia and PVPC, as far as we're designing that housing plan. Maybe that's part of the consultation. Our inclusionary bylaw doesn't seem to be working. Rather, points to address.
Yep, we need to. I mean, I can't say that I've read the whole inclusionary bylaw, so I guess I should start there. And
yeah, I skimmed it. I think what I would guess would be the issue is that there's so many exceptions that like almost anyone can find a way around it. And also there might have something to do with the fact that like there's not really any consequence for not following the rule. So I don't know if that's even a possible thing, and who would, would we be in charge of seeking out infractions and, laying down the law?
Right. So my understanding is that typical inclusionary bylaws include a provision that a developer doesn't have to comply, but they pay a penalty, and that penalty goes to the CPA fund usually, or something like that. So I thought that inclusion was part of our inclusionary bylaw, but if it's not,
it is part of it. It's in there. There is a payout, and then if we got a housing trust, that we could have that go to the housing trust instead.
Exactly.
But if people don't pay it, if people, don't put in an affordable housing, an affordable apartment in their, 1 out of 10 in their complexes developing, and they don't pay it, and it happened after 2014, like, do we go back? Can we go back and say, hey, you didn't pay what you were
retrospectively? Yeah, I don't know.
Throw this into the CPA funds. You need to and I think it's, the value of the apartment they have to pay or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know that there's been anybody that's done a 10 house development. They've found ways around it, but I'm not sure that anybody went ahead and did 10 and just said, screw, forget about it,
Yeah, I think it's more that people do a couple developments close to each other, which adds up to more than 10, but they do it in stages so that each stage has less than 10. But the zoning bylaw does have something that says you're not allowed to get around it that way.
Right. There's a time period that has to go by.
I know.
Right, Sarah? I believe there's a time period that has to go by. It's a number of years if you wanted to, quote, do it in stages. And if you did that, that's, as I would think, as any business, developer or not, time is money. So you just sitting on land, not doing it, is penalty in and of itself. So
yeah,
I'm speaking, I'll admit, mostly from ignorance here, but it's not my understanding that there's been any violations or workarounds at this point. The workarounds have been, we've got a few 9-unit developments, which is legal. It's not a workaround. It's just, it's a responding to an economic reality.
Because there's, I think, a 9-1 going up on, 1 or 2 9s going up on Pequot Road.
Maybe there's a way we can change the law to discourage that in some way. Like, come on, don't you want to play fair with us? What's the deal?
I think what you do, we go back through the process and back to town hall, and you propose a lower number, and you say the purpose of this was to create affordable housing. It has produced 0 affordable housing units.
Yeah. Do that.
So, 5, 4, something like that.
But I guess it's also becomes is how can we help them offset the cost of, because they want to build a house that fits into the development. They don't want to have
Right.
a house that's going to detract, that's just it needs to look and feel like the development. So, I mean, how do we use the CPA funds to help a builder do that?
Right.
But it doesn't mean it's affordable or 40B or, whatever the definition is of affordable. And then it's market driven, right? So it would have to be deeded, and then so that they couldn't.
Right. It would have to fit the HUD definition of affordability.
Right. And be deeded affordable. Yeah.
So, right. Because our goal was to create affordable housing, not to be punitive to anybody.
No.
That's our goal, is to be inclusive and to bring people into the process and create affordable units. And so, it's my understanding one of the things we can use CPA money for example, I believe when you create, an affordable unit, one of the things you can help with the developer to incentivize it is to, I think with the CPA funds, you can buy, for example, the appliances. So that the developer doesn't have to pay to put the appliances in.
That's cool.
But that's not going to make the difference between some of these big developments.
No.
Yeah.
I like this idea that was introduced, that there's these developers out there who are nonprofits and are like looking to do this on purpose. And there's those, and there's also, I think, grants and loans that are dedicated specifically for these developers. So maybe if we created sort of like a little, this is maybe wishful thinking, but like a little info sheet for like potential developers that said, okay, here's the inclusionary zoning bylaw. Here's some things that we can do that can help make it easier for you, and like put that up on our website, because there's no real like centralized info on this. And maybe that would encourage some people to do it, or maybe it wouldn't. But I'd be happy to draw that up at some point if we want to do it.
I'm going to say it certainly can't hurt, because there's nothing there now. So, but I like the idea of trying to, open it up and promote it, essentially. It's a promotion.
I don't know how much space we have for development. I find myself driving through other towns with like big lots for sale, and I'm just like seething with jealousy. I'm like, why doesn't Southampton have enough underutilized properties for us to snatch up? Like, come on, these places are everywhere, like right over the border in Westfield.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Affordable in Westfield?
No, I just mean like properties for sale, or like buildings that clearly could be like used up or built up, like those grants we were looking at from the state. It's all about, we just don't have any properties that are big enough to build on or develop.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever go to Ferry Street to see the remodeled factories that they just started in East Hampton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they've started.
Right, we don't have that kind of
big buildings, right? I mean, that's not necessarily affordable, but we don't even have the bones to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly building enough between Crooked Ledge. I think there's a pretty decent size one coming up there. And then Pequot, there's a couple developments coming there. They're kind of tucked away. They're not all on Route 10,
Right.
Yeah.
So, I really think, because we're not the first ones to ask these questions. Housing Authority members prior to us had these questions, did some work. And I'm not opposed to continuing to explore these ideas, don't get me wrong. But I really want to make sure we stay focused on, in my opinion, 2 things. 1, creating a housing trust, and 2, making sure we create a housing production plan, which hopefully will include a lot of the elements we're talking about. Well, in my opinion, a housing production plan will hopefully include some piece about zoning, you know. So
Yeah,
we
that makes sense.
have overlay districts that reduce the frontage requirement to allow, you know, more building.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's got to be the big number one step, right? I mean, thank God we have the grant to do that.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's a perfect segue into the next item, which is the Mass Housing Partnership presentation to the Select Board. I thought it went really well, seemed to be very well received. I think what, in my opinion, for a couple of to-dos are, I have not heard back from Ken yet, and I Ken Comia of PVPC, but I want to push him a little bit. And I think, you know, to get this started, even though it's summer and everyone normally thinks summer everything slows down, but this grant, I think we have to get going.
Yes.
And so I think there's energy now to start that. So I'm going to propose, I'm curious for your feedback, that I send Ken an email. But I think it makes sense if I'm going to send him an email to say, okay, let's get started. We have a name. Dan LaValle from the planning board is the assigned member to join us. All three of us are going to have to be on this committee because we're such a small board. I'll solicit from Dan first what days work for him, and solicit from you two what works for you, and then we'll know when we can meet, and then I can email Ken and say, okay, I can give him some options, several options, Monday, Tuesday, whatever. So if that makes sense to the two of you, I know you're both doing lots of things. We could start with Mondays, opposite of this one, but are there days and times that work?
I like 5 or 6 p.m. meetings as opposed to like the 8 p.m. meetings personally. Not that I can't ever come to an 8 p.m. meeting, but just having now that experience of both, I would say I like it to be like attached to the end of my workday. So I'm still in like concentrating mode. But most days are fine. I'd say any day except Tuesday is fine for me.
Yeah, Monday's definitely my better day. I know that Dan is also on CONCOM, Conservation Commission, and they meet on Mondays, so we would have to go. Their next meeting is they're meeting tonight, and they meet again the 21st, so we'd have to find a Monday.
We could offer the 14th and the 28th maybe.
So second and fourth Mondays is our number one choice.
Yeah, they may only, second and fourth. I mean, it's best, I'm just talking about me because I have to balance other half meetings too, and we have a large family, so.
Monday's fine for me.
Yeah. So second or fourth, because I don't know, maybe Ken will want to meet twice a month to get it going. I don't know, but second and fourth at 6 p.m. on a Monday works for the both of you. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it will for Dan. If it doesn't for Ken or Dan, Sarah, you could do Wednesdays or Thursdays at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could do Wednesdays. Thursday's not good for me. Wednesday would be my second day.
And would the second and fourth Wednesday also work for you, Janet?
Yeah, the first Wednesday of the month I have some COA board meetings, so it starts at 4, but it gets done at 5. I mean, it's just back to back, and
it's a lot.
So it sounds like it could be a second, third, or fourth Wednesday.
Yeah, for a Wednesday.
Oh, that's right.
Dan doesn't have his thing that third one.
That's right.
But I think the planning board, which is also what Dan's on.
Oh,
that's on Wednesdays, right?
On Wednesdays. Let me see how often.
They're first and third.
Are they first and third?
So it is the second and fourth Wednesdays again. Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
I'm looking to see if I see one.
Say, can you guys multitask better than me? Probably. Anyone can multitask better than me.
I'm on MyTownGov there with the boards and commission meetings. I don't see.
You're on it now?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
I knew Dan was on Concom, so. Yeah, I don't see planning board the 16th,
Which is
which is the third. So that's the third Wednesday.
So they're first and third, so probably second and fourth Wednesdays will work then.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
Okay. So that's easy. So second or fourth Monday
Or Wednesday.
preferred at 6, or secondary second and fourth Wednesday also at 6 works for folks.
Yeah, because it's better for you, right?
It is 5. I just can't get it together to get here in time.
Yep.
I get the stuff off of my parents. First Wednesday I have a meeting. Third Wednesday, yeah. So this will actually, okay, good. I will email Dan. I'll CC both of you and ask him about those times. And if that's good for him, then both, hopefully, then I'll propose it to Ken and CC everybody.
Because they are, planning board's actually meeting at the town hall first floor meeting room, so.
wow.
Oh, they're physically coming in.
Yep, that's what it looks like.
Interesting. I think a second half of this, the housing partnership, in addition to they talked, I'm talking about the grant now, but the housing, the MHP presentation was really about getting the trust going. And there was some good energy during this. And so I think we need to target a member who seems interested. And that member to me is Chris Fowles. I know her from the Master Plan Implementation Committee. She keeps emailing me about this housing stuff, to her credit. So what do you guys think? I propose that as chair, I could also send an email to the select board chair, to Rini, and say, we recommend, at least if not, we're not talking about necessarily naming a select board member, although that would be a good idea, but at least a select board point of contact for the housing trust creation.
Yeah, I mean, I just know Chris is on a lot.
She is on a lot.
They're all on a lot. And the election being the 22nd, you may have some new faces on the select board, so.
That's true. There is one member who, yes, one person who I understand, and I still haven't looked at the video, but there was one person on the night, I believe it was Ms. Piper, who on the evening of the candidate forum expressed a lot of interest in developing affordable housing in town. So that could be, if elected, a natural. So maybe jumping that a little too quickly. Maybe we need to see where members land.
Yeah,
To your
let's
point,
have
Jan.
first meeting together with Ken and Dan and,
Yeah.
and then for the DLTA. But yes, I mean, I think Rini probably does need to appoint somebody as a point person for the trust, because it has to be kind of headed up by it's the point I tried to make at the end. This is not us.
Right.
It's got to be driven from there. And that's, I mean, this time of year, it's past the budget, elections, 3 open
Yep.
seats. You just don't know who's going to be on it come.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm eager because, I mentioned Chris, she sent me an email, said there was good energy here. Let's not lose this. Let's keep it going. So,
Okay. Well,
but you have a valid point. There's no sense in doing it prior to the election. And Sierra, I'm so glad you mentioned during the presentation the other night that, because this will ease the understandable angst select board members may have, given how busy they are, that we can actually use funds to pay for some admin support. I think that's going to be a selling point.
Yeah, that was a big selling point for me, for sure.
I mean, we have to present to the CPC and get the permission to do that. So I don't know, I guess our grant and the production of this plan is number one, I think, before we really, without that, it doesn't sound like we can even have a trust set up.
Yeah, I think we put creating the trust into our plan.
Right. And then the trust, but yeah.
Then I also think a lot of the work we end up doing with the plan will be useful for both. Like we won't need to duplicate our efforts. I think a lot of the content that we end up putting in the plan we'll be able to use for the housing trust. So even though it's two huge things, I think the work will overlap a little bit.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
do too. I mean, I don't think the trust can be created prior to the production plan, but
Right.
it might be not simultaneous, not the right word, but almost in concert with it. I don't know if we have to absolutely finish the housing production plan before okay, now we can just pursue the trust. Maybe we have to, but I'm hoping we can kind of, Ken, that's why we got a grant. Thank you, Sierra. And that's why, we're going to bring in some expertise to help us with that. And Shelley seems very, very willing, Ms. Gehring, to come in and assist. Thank God we have these agencies out there. It helps us small towns with volunteer boards navigate this labyrinth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Feeling good about that. Let's keep that energy going. Next agenda item is updates. New member recruitment. I want to share with you, I got permission from Brian, but I ran into Brian at the gas station. And he's fine.
Good.
He's taken on work that would essentially be a conflict of interest. He's back into journalism, so it'd be a conflict of interest to do this work. So he and his family are doing well. He has a young one with him, so it was really nice to see it. I'm glad he's doing well, and he wishes everyone here well. And really, he really wanted to be part of this work, but he has to take care of his family first, like all of us. So. Mm-hmm. So anyway, with the absence of Brian and an open seat, we do have 2 openings. And I think, it'd be interesting to see how the select board election goes, but there's a potential. I think there's an opportunity there. One of the candidates, again, in the candidate forum, expressed an interest in affordable and starter home housing development in this town, and that individual is elected to the select board. I think that's going to be helpful for us. And if that individual is not elected to the select board, perhaps someone that we can recruit for this body.
Yeah, I actually met with her because she meets Saturday mornings because her family owns McCall's, so she was having 9 to 11 meet the candidates thing, and she mentioned during that that she was interested in finding ways to get affordable housing in a town. So
nice. Other names that could possibly.
Well, I was found at a town meeting, and there's another one of those coming up. So we all just need to be really friendly and gregarious at the town meeting and meet people and make them want to join us.
It's a good idea.
I'll drink coffees before I head over. People won't even be able to control their wish to join this committee.
Should we all wear a large sandwich board that says "Join the Housing Authority"?
Please, we don't want to seem desperate.
That's right. I'll add to that. There was one individual who I tried to recruit, but I was unsuccessful. But in addition to housing authority members, one thing I recollect from Shelley's presentation is once the trust is created, it can include, like appointed members from the citizenry. And that might be a good way to get people involved who have an interest in housing, but not necessarily on being on this board, but might want to be part of that trust. And so once we get the trust built, I'm going to return to this person and solicit their interest. So I'd ask you both to think of that too. Not only do we need members on this board, this authority, but we could very well need to recruit members to be on the housing trust.
Or the select board can also assist with that, since they're going to kind of drive the trust. They're going to have to drive the trust as well. So.
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, that's a good idea, Sierra. Town meeting Saturday. Let's hope we have good weather.
Yeah.
It's not obnoxiously hot like it is now.
Well, it's supposed to
low
be cool,
turnout.
so that's good. Thank God.
I also have an update. I just put grant committee because I'm curious to hear, Sierra, if there's any new information you're learning from that committee.
No, I haven't attended since May. Well,
You're not on the committee, right? You just helped them with our grant, right? You're not.
Yeah, I just helped with that one grant. So I haven't heard
mistake.
anything
Thank you.
new from them now. And there haven't been any what's the thing I joined? Community preservation. There haven't been any of those meetings either.
Right.
Those happen less regularly, but Virginia's good about letting folks know when they happen.
Yeah, and she has your email. I know.
Yes.
She's been out of circulation for a little bit, so probably not before the next town meeting now.
Yeah.
So I did see Virginia at the graduation up at the high school, so it's good to see her.
Good.
Yeah. So I can provide an update on the CARES Act. So Jana Tetro of Community Action reports that so far there have been no submissions. There's been a few phone calls from Southampton residents, and Community Action has done what they do, act like as a clearinghouse, and they kind of triage it with the caller. There are other funding sources for folks, RAF funds and et cetera. So it's been helpful, I think, publicity-wise, to include this and have it on our website and whatever. They've gotten some calls, but so far there's been no one who's called who had a need beyond what's already exists and fit eligibility. And Jenna reports that this is pretty typical. Amherst kind of started out like gangbusters, but they've slowed way down. I think Hadley, don't quote me on this, has not given out any money yet. East Hampton has slowed. So, it's one of those things where I think it's a good insurance policy. I think we have till December.
Okay.
Even though I think if the public emergency is lifted, I think the money, because I think we have till December.
Yeah, we have to the end of December to spend it.
Yeah, which for me, frankly, is a head scratcher, because that doesn't fit a federal budget cycle or a state budget cycle. So it must be provision of the CARES Act funding that was written into law by U.S. Congress.
Because, it's just it started, the CARES Act 2 started January, right? So I guess it just made it.
It's just a 1 years.
Yeah. But I did,
they probably considered the money written off and in someone else's hands at this point. So it's not their last year's budget or something like that.
And I did drop off a flyer to Peanuts and to the Urgent Care, as we discussed at the last meeting. So they will keep it on file.
Nice.
So.
Perfect.
Well, if the goal is that nobody in our town feels desperate and like there's no one there to help them pay their rent when they can't. So I guess that goal is met.
Right. The funding is available for those who need it.
Yep.
And I think we've done a pretty good job of publicizing it. So we'll see. It's a long time between now and December.
Yep.
So.
That's true. Someone might have to fill up their oil tank right at the beginning of December, and then
that's right. We're not talking fuel at this time of year, but that could be a big, if home fuel prices are following gasoline prices, it's going to be an unpleasant winter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good points. Yeah. Okay.
But not for a while. We have a nice summer to look forward to.
That's right. Let's enjoy this warm weather. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda, other than to schedule our next meeting, which we do have to pay attention to. Janet alerted me, we're not going to meet on the celebration day of Independence Day, which is the 5th.
A holiday, right?
That's correct.
For the town, so typically we don't.
Well, now we've just given,
I know we said the 2nd and the 4th, and
yeah,
well, I can say excluding July 12th, or
But if we need to meet on July 12th, I would think the DLTA grant, I mean, maybe we spend
Maybe
some
just-
time on that and move to the next grant as well. It doesn't have to be either or, right? I mean,
yeah, that's a good point. That could just
Right.
be our meeting. most of
right,
it.
right.
it could be,
Because-
a meeting for if there's nothing else. I mean, those are the critical things that we're working on right now. So it could be part of our normal meeting even at times, you know?
I agree, because I think I'm saying what you're both saying. Our focus really is this creation of this housing production plan and the housing trust.
Mhm.
That's our real work. You know, these other agenda items, you know, only so many times you can rehash, you know, recruiting new members for the board,
Mhm.
right?
It's
So,
just ongoing, yeah.
yeah,
Maybe we just wait until we get an answer from PVPC
yeah.
and then make that our meeting date for July.
Well, how about we
We may need to meet in June for them and then meet again in July, because I think it's
oh, right.
makes sense from the, you know, the grant that you guys had for master plan, that it wasn't a once a month meeting. Jim, is that accurate?
right, you know, we could meet twice a month is what you're saying.
I mean, it may
Sure.
take that to
Yes.
to get
Right.
it done.
So I think it's a good plan to go ahead and, you know, quote, schedule our next meeting minimally for July 12th.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have something going through the DLTA with, you know, creating the housing production plan. But if we don't, we'll have plenty to talk about on July 12th, because we got to get going.
And unless we hear differently, we'll do it remotely again to get everybody pulled in.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. That is everything on our agenda. Are there any additional items?
So I guess, you know, I think the plans are already in place for the Pequot development, and there's already 9 houses. I wish, you know, when we know that people are building, that somehow we pull them in the future to meet with us to say, how can we make this a 10 lot, you know, housing development instead of 9? How can we help you to do that?
Right. And maybe that's more working in concert with the planning board, or, you know, and trying to pay attention to their agenda. You know, these things come up, and we join the planning board meeting when the landowner, the developer is saying this is what we want to do. And
Before the plans are made, right? Because
Yeah.
the plan is set, it's kind of set. And I, you know, and again, I don't know how open the planning board is to having a discussion about inclusionary housing during their meeting or not, or if we
Yeah.
watch their agenda and then try to invite, you know, I don't want to feel like we sabotage somebody's doing a presentation to the planning board and we kind of show up and,
right.
I mean,
Well, I think that's, you know, to Sierra's point, like, can we create some talking points that are publicized and promoted? Because remember, before you two were on the board, it's when I first started, but there was we had a little pizza gathering at Paisanos and invited developers, and there was actually some good discussion there, but, you know, it's just, you know, the developers know what they need to do and have their business model. And so, you know, it's challenging. And it's no offense against developers. This is what they know what to do and how to do it to meet their needs. And we're trying to add to that. So despite that effort of, you know, invites and having the pizza party, you know, it didn't really move the needle.
because I don't know if what we had to offer them to encourage them to do it. I mean, without that, I maybe they did offer something.
We did offer some things. That's where, you know, I learned about, you know, the appliances and whatnot, but it really, you know, I don't mean to sound negative, but there's not a lot short of a lot of money, So for example, I think one of the things that we do have funds, is, maybe we could buy the land. If you buy the lot, then to make money to build the house, if you're not buying the land, it certainly cuts down into your costs as a developer.
But they usually buy these huge acreages, right? If they're going to build 9 and
Right.
build 10, the lots are, it's
Right.
kind of one big.
So it's more like when we have a housing trust and we see a lot for sale and we buy the lot, or the trust buys the lot. Now the town owns it through the trust, and then the trust can start working with developers. Okay.
Like Valley or Hilltown, those are the builders that are the nonprofit builders, right? Valley, BC,
Right.
and
Well, yeah, it can be them, or it can be any developer that you're having a conversation with, as far as, okay, so we've got the land here, we need this developed. Can you create this kind of unit on this affordable, that it works for you as a business? And the way it works for them maybe as a business is because they're not buying the land. So takes a lot out of the cost and helps with their profit margin. Because, building a smaller home or an affordable home is not profitable for a builder.
right.
Those discussions, so how do you make it profitable? Well, you can't increase the price, so you do it on the other end. You reduce the costs.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm not sure, Jan, of any way to create to help incentivize the inclusionary bylaw. I think it's more of, we have a housing trust and we start purchasing land, and then now we have the land and we work with a developer to create something and then it gets deeded, and there's no cost for the land to the developer. So that's the incentive for them to build.
And I do think we're going to have better luck dealing with somebody like a Habitat or a Valley or.
Oh yeah.
Than we are, other builders are not, that's
Right.
not a business model. So.
Right. Right. I think another option too is we could start pursuing vendors who build prefab housing. One of the things that we're really up against right now, the timing just right now is really awful. I mean, materials are through the roof.
Yep.
So this is not a great time to build, cost-wise.
Well, good. We're not ready yet.
But if we did, like you said, pay attention to the planning board meeting agendas, and if we were aware on the front end that someone was going to try to build, maybe we could do the work, or I could do the work, whoever wants to, of seeing what grants are available, because they probably just don't care and aren't looking for grants for affordable housing. There may be things specifically available to, at that time, if they're hopefully a few months out from actually executing on anything, that can help support that as well.
Right. That's a good point. Ongoing liaisoning, is that a word? Liaising with,
it is now.
Yeah. With the grant committee.
Yeah.
Keeping your ear to that rail. Sure.
Yeah. And as a grant writer, I would appreciate, and I'm sure they would appreciate, if just like every few months when we have ideas of what kind of things we might need funding for, we ship Chris or whoever an email and just say, hey, these are the 4 things we're looking for. Please let us know if anything crops up, and we'll, take part in your meetings and help write it.
So, again, we have that property on Middle Road, and, what do we, I don't know what the town would want to sell it for to a Valley CDC or a Habitat to get something started. So, and how
right.
it is,
so refresh my memory, but I think wasn't the issue, I guess we need this confirmed. I don't know how we confirm this. The property was wet and also ledged. Haven't really talked to anybody. Right.
Side conversations,
I think it should be confirmed because, just logically, it seems totally illogical to me. If there's a valuable piece of property it wouldn't be sitting there.
But the town,
However,
but the town owns it.
right, but the town, if it was valuable, would get rid of it and take some revenue, wouldn't they? I
don't
would
know.
think.
I don't know.
I would think. But maybe not. That's an assumption on my part.
Yeah. I'm not-
So to your point, Janet, so we don't have this discussion next month, you know, who do we ask? Like, what do we know about this property, town? Do we start with Ed, or do we start with the planning board, or where do we learn about this piece of property as far as its viability?
I mean, I can check with Martha again in the assessor's office and see if I can pull out the map and see if it's got wetland throughout it, or, you know, I know that there was some letter from the assessor's office at one point in time.
Yeah, is this the one that we got that assessor? Is this the same property we were talking before where we got that assessor and they did a preliminary thing? And I think that is what says there's wetlands in it. I think that's what you're referring to. Let me see if I can find that.
But you can't just, I mean, it may limit some of the building, but it may not.
Yeah, I think if there were just too many roadblocks and somebody didn't want to take the trouble to get past them, but that might be the reason why nothing's been done with it. The fact that it's not viable at all.
Well, and are these wetlands like wetlands protection, or it's not perkable? Because if it's the former, this is where some research can be done. It might be that to build affordable housing, there's some leeway to, you know, encroach a little bit on wetlands, or, you know what I'm saying? There might be, you know.
It says contains wetland across its entire frontage. However, there's a fairly large lot, 4.97 acres. There's a sizable upland area at the rear of the lot, so that would be not wetlands.
Right.
So you have to go through wetlands to get there. You have to build a road.
Yes.
Yep.
It says it allows wetlands to be crossed under limited project status if there's no other feasible way to reach the upland area on a parcel. We'd have to have a hardship clause to say this is the only way we can do it. And I don't know if that's changed based on the new wetlands bylaw.
Well, and what, I mean, Marla Hank may be another person to speak to. What's the map and lot number on that?
It was...
Because that's intriguing. How many...
Oh, no, just kidding. Map 36, lot 24.
And how many acres?
4.97.
Mm-hmm.
It's no small piece of property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I quite honestly, I'm not even sure, because it was a tax lien, I think, that went on it. So I don't know, what year was that? Does it say, Sierra, when it became, I don't know when the town took ownership, and if this particular select board kind of even knows it's there. So, I mean, I know I've talked to them a little bit about it, but
let's see.
Right.
Put the date on here.
because I don't know when we took over the property.
Right.
I think it was maybe something like 2008. This report is from 2013.
Okay.
Right. For a standard development, you know, you can't have a flag lot. So I don't know if it has sufficient frontage, but maybe.
I thought it had a sufficient frontage.
Did it? Okay. But it may not be affordable if you have to build a road through wetlands to get there. However, that would be the assumption you're building one unit, a house. But if you had funds, which we do have, and you have acreage so you can build more than one affordable units, you could build several perhaps. It's the roadway, it's the access, that's the problem. But
so, I mean, I don't know if because I have a friend in Maine and the property behind him happened to be sold at a reduced price to Habitat for Humanity. So the Habitat for Humanity bought the property and then they're going to build on it. So, you know, I mean, I don't know if, you know, if the town would be willing to sell it and if they would be willing to buy it, or Valley or Hilltown, or, you know, I just not.
Well, what I'm thinking, Janet, is you have to get there. You have to build an access road. So maybe what is a possibility is the town already owns the property, so we don't have to buy it. You know, is it legal to use CPA funds to build the road? Can we possibly get, if there's a wetlands protection restriction, will creation of affordable housing essentially override that or allow it? And so if you build a road and then you make it, then we don't have to sell the property to Habitat necessarily. We could be like, you know, the housing trust, the purpose to own land. We have the land, we deed it, and we just need builders. Whether that's Habitat or whatever, you know, we divide it up.
I mean, but if it's property, you know, then you look at, so if we can get revenue from selling the property, it becomes a, you know, in a revenue starved community. And I don't know why it's never been sold all these years either. So, well,
to your point, you know, once you get access, you could, you know, 5 acres, divide it up, and you sell the lots. You create a little development so that would be all affordable, or a mix of different, you know, you can have 80% AMI, 60% AMI. So we have, you know, significant funds in the CPA that we could invest potentially in the roadway. That's the barrier. I'm guessing, even if you were a developer and you wanted to buy this from the town, the cost to put in that road, the fact that it's over wetlands to build one house probably isn't worth it.
Right.
However, for our purposes, it could very well be, because our goal is not to make a profit and not to build one unit.
That's true. And it says here the cost specifically of the permitting, he estimated in 2013 to be 5,000 to 10,000, and time frame to about 3 to 6 months. So I would bump that up to probably like 12 to 15,000 at this point, maybe less, maybe 8.
And who is that from? Who signed the?
That was James Gracia.
And where's he from?
He is from East Hampton, and what's his dealio? PE is his letters after his name.
Some kind of engineer?
I'm guessing so, yeah. Property engineer?
Public engineer?
That could be, yeah.
I know you sent this to us before. I have it somewhere, so.
Yeah, you want me to send it again so it's at the top of the inbox?
Would you mind? And I'll take another look at it. That would be...
Maybe we can include this as part of our housing production plan. If this is one of our major ideas, maybe that's part of the write-up. So that way, everything we do, rather than being considered like a diversion from our big goals, can be just included into our big goals.
Right. I think it's great to be able to go into this creation of a housing production plan with actually some ideas and some actual examples of what might work. I mean, I'm totally going to trust Ken to steer us in this, but I think having that ready is rather than just we'll see what happens. Okay. Well, this is an interesting discussion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're adjourning the meeting. How do we get?
Well, no, this is worth it because I asked if there were any other items for discussion. You brought this up, and it's well worth it. It's bringing this back. So, to recap, I'm going to forward to Tammy Walunas Shelley's presentation so she can put it on the Facebook page. I'm going to email Daniel and see if those dates, the 2nd or 4th Monday at 6 p.m. is first selection, 2nd or 4th Wednesday at 6 p.m. is the second option. And if Daniel says yes to either of them, then I'm going to email Ken Comia and say, let's get going. I'm also going to email Chris Falls and just say, you know, we are definitely looking forward to continuing this energy, and it makes sense to wait until after the election to see where the select board members fall, and then, you know, solicit through the chair, through Rini, you know, a rep to join us. That's what I have for my to-dos. You guys set with your to-dos?
I don't think I have any to-dos right now.
I have to write the minutes.
You're going to do the minutes, and Sierra, you're going to continue to liaise with the grant committee.
Sure.
All right. Sounds good. Do I have a motion?
So
adjourn.
move to adjourn at 7:08.
Seconded.
Seconded by name vote, please.
I'm deferring to Sierra since she started the first time, so
Simmons, aye.
Kane, aye.
Feeney, aye.
That's very
Right. Excellent. We'll see you all at town meeting on Saturday.
All right. See you there.
9 a.m.
What time is it again?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Not 10, but 9.
For you viewers at home, 9 a.m.
I mean, I would have checked online before I showed up.
Yeah, because it was 10 and they made it earlier. Of course, it's going to be a cooler day than last Saturday, thank God. So,
And they're going to do it at Labrie Fields again, I assume.
yes. Yep, Labrie
Good
Field.
venue. Perfect. Saves me from looking it up. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thank you both.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Cool.